And once again, you are welcome. I am Doreen Appiah and the staff of AfLIA. You are welcome to this morning's program. As you know, AfLIA is always at your service, ensuring that we bring something new to you, give you new knowledge or share knowledge with you, and then help us all as librarians to ensure that the profession is strong on our lovely continent, Africa. Today is not an exception. I'm sure most libraries, if not all libraries across Africa, has benefited from Book Aid International. We've received books of different types and different kinds. It is one of the sources, major sources of books to most libraries. And for me, when I hear Book Aid, I know that if you need any book and you get to them, definitely you'll get something. So it is important and it is really heartwarming to have them in house to tell us what they do or to talk to us about their activities and share a few testimonies from other people who have benefited from their programs. So Dr. Nkem will be giving us the purpose of the webinar and then introduce the speakers because we have wonderful speakers in our midst. Please, let's welcome Dr. Nkem to give us the purpose of the program. Doc, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Doreen. So why have this webinar? Why are we here? Like Doreen had hinted us, it's almost impossible not to see a book from Book Aid International in any library, whether it's public library or school library or even university library, then information centers, community libraries all over Africa. You see their books everywhere. And that is why we are here today to find out, like she also said, to hear testimonies, about what they've been up to or how what they have been doing has really affected so many libraries across Africa. Well, because we are in Africa, because we are AfLIA, so we are concentrating on Africa, although they also do awesome things in other parts of the world. So why Book Aid International? I know that I encountered it when I was still working in a public library in Anambra State, Nigeria. And right from then, I understood that, the core vision of BUY is a world where everybody has an opportunity to read, to have access to new books. And BUY does it because they understand that most public libraries, most school libraries, most information centers, community libraries, community centers, and so on, where people read, or have books available, that they operate on very tight, when I say tight, I mean very tight budgets. And affordability of new books is like a rare phenomenon. And there are also countries where there are internal conflicts, wars and so on, displacements, like an example of my country where there are internally displaced people, that's refugees that don't have access to schools and so on. And then there are some that, there's even no library around, so to speak. And in all these places, the rate of poverty is so high that nobody thinks about buying new books. It's as if that is not what is on the front burner. And this affects development in every area of life. But BUY steps in and they send us books, books that are making a huge difference in supporting early literacy development, lifelong learning, education at all levels, skill acquisition, citizenship literacy, amongst so many other things. It's as if BUY is meant to do all these things and more. And that is why we are here today, to find out what is that has really happened and how have they been able to do it, and who are the players that have helped them do all that. But I want to also, I saw somewhere online that in 2025 alone, BUY was able to give out 800, 848,100 no 848,817 brand new books to 157 partners across 22 countries. That's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. So that is why we're here, to understand what's going on, the impact of all of this. But above all that, it has been someone's responsibility to connect the dots, and make all these things happen. And that is why today we've brought in Samantha. Samantha has been there for a long time, and she has been she's the head of programs and partnerships at BUY, and she leads the strategy for supporting BUY's partner organizations. And she has more than 25 years experience in education across Africa. And she has been working across borders throughout Africa to ensure that children get books, students get books, and they get every support that they need to continue learning. And not just learning, but to grow the potentials of the mind, to be able to, learn, imagine, and of course, become everything that people want to be. And she has been with Book 8 International since October 2015. So she's going to lead the discussion. She'll come first. Then after her, I think that we are going to have Michael. Yeah. Michael is the director of the Edward Ndlovu Memorial Trust, ENMT, in Zimbabwe. Yeah, Michael, I can see your video that you're on. Thank you. There's something that I read about him. He runs a library in, I don't want to butcher any name, but I'll try, in Uganda, a large town in Matabele, South Province in Zimbabwe. He believes in the power of reading. He believes in the power of learning. He believes in the power of education to drive empowerment in African communities. Most of our politicians, they'll tell you, oh, this is an empowerment program. Sometimes they'll give people bikes, sometimes they'll give people bags of rice, sometimes they'll give people money. That is their own idea. How does it work? We don't know. But Michael, he believes that, reading drives empowerment above every other thing. And that when people are well informed and they have information that they need through reading, then they can advocate for the good things of life from their governments. They can hold the decision makers to account, so that they can do what they ought to do. And then he also believes strongly in collaborations as a vehicle for creating more impact and driving change. Michael, you're welcome. So Michael is from Zimbabwe, like we said. Then we have Rogers. Is Rogers in the house? Rogers, please. Oh, yeah, that's Rogers. Yeah, and that's the picture I saw online. Great. Yeah, and Rogers has this foundation, that he named Music for Life Africa Foundation. He founded it in 2014, and the organization identifies, nurtures, and mentors young children's interests and talents, and then helps them to build up their skills in those areas. He says he's a father, he's a farmer, he's a programs manager, he's a trainer, and quite a lot of things. And he believes that he believes that when you train children, or when you expose children to learning, please don't forget their cultural identity. Don't forget their cultural values, because it's all a part of learning. So these are the three people that are going to speak to us today. We had Purity Kavuri, but somehow she's in transit. She would have really, really loved to be here. She's in transit, but I believe that Samantha will cover up a little bit and tell us about her program. And then these three people, Rogers, Michael, and Purity, they beyond getting books from Buy, they also got this seed grant that Buy gives, and that has been my interest for some time, a part of my interest, because somehow, like we say in Nigeria, Samantha joined my body to it. It's like we say in Nigeria, somebody has joined us. Somebody has made you like a part of what is happening there. And we are interested. What these people, what have they been able to do with these things that they got? And that is why we have these wonderful people here with us. So please get your notebooks and pens, because you're going to be exposed to ideas that you didn't know were possible with books. Maybe you all this while we thought that, oh, just books on the shelves, that's enough. Oh, inside my library space, that's enough. No, today we are going to learn awesome things. So I give to us Samantha. Over to you, dear Samantha. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nkem. And just while my slide deck is being shared, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be here and to taking such interest and giving Bookade International such support with the promoting the Community Reading Awards in particular. Thank you very much for all your help with that. And thank you for the introduction. And yes, I think a lot of people will know of Bookade International. We've been around a long time, at least 70 years, with essentially the mission being that people deserve to have books and the opportunity to read. But what we do is really a drop in the ocean. And many of us will know that stocking a library is a huge investment every single year. It costs a lot of money, and our institutions are really struggling to find those budgets to purchase the books that we really need. And Bookade International provides supplementary books. So it's not our intention to take over from government, who provides curriculum books and should be stimulating local books. All we add is something that is different, but also can be extremely useful. As we know, many of our young people are or young professionals are doing exams that are international. And so you need the materials to be able to compete with the rest of the world and to be able to pass exams, international exams, and enjoy the books of the world. And we're hoping that through our work, we're able to share those books and the opportunity to read. So it's a pleasure to be able to work with many of our organisations that are listed here this morning. Some of the names I recognise. I've certainly been to some of these places myself and seen the work that everybody's trying to do to get more people reading, especially children. So I hope today my presentation will be inspiring, and there will be a focus on the Community Reading Awards, which is, as Dr. Nkem says, it's seed funding to support reading outside of a typical library. And I just wanted to share a little bit about where the idea comes from. We know that libraries encourage people to go in, but not everybody gets into a library. And yet they are readers. They're almost hidden readers in our communities and neighbourhoods. And so the seed funding was really about how do we reach those communities that don't have access because maybe the library is not convenient, but they want to read or should be reading. And also, I was learning and hearing about the work that AfLIA was doing and the training that it was offering for librarians to be outward focused and to be looking at their communities to see who are the hidden readers and how can we connect with them. And what new partnerships can we connect our libraries to? And how do we use the skills that we've been given by AfLIA and the courses that we have attended? And it's great to have training, but it's good to apply that training and put it into action. And so the seed funding was really about how do we give librarians and library staff the opportunity to be able to have a little bit of money, identify a possible project and readers who are not being served and support them, and do it in a very small and focused intervention. And so that was the birth of Community Reading Awards. So a little bit about us, as Kem had said, our mission is really to give people around the world, people who lack access to books, the opportunity to read. And our vision is that people, wherever they are, have access to books. I mean, wherever they are is a big claim. We are in 26 countries only, and the demand for books is ever growing. Next slide, please. So if you read any of the big reports, either from UNICEF or UNDP, World Bank, the Global Education program, they will all mention the lack of resources and materials in schools, especially for children, but also throughout people's careers. There may not be sufficient books for them to reach their full potential. We have a lot of children's books that are donated to us, and so we know and feel particularly concerned that children are not starting a reading journey at school and are not finding books in the libraries in their communities. And so what we want to do is to be able to provide that opportunity, especially for children, so that they can have a taste of how great books are, which will hopefully be with them for the rest of their lives. Next slide, please. So sorry, the pictures don't seem to have translated, and these are not our most regular figures, which you can find on the website. But essentially, where our books go, they go to public and community libraries, refugee settings, higher and further education libraries, prison libraries, medical settings, and government schools. We mainly work in government schools and not-for-profit schools as well. Next slide, please. So specifically, the Community Reading Award started 2020, 2021, and it was an opportunity for librarians to lead. As I said, to identify people in the community who were hidden readers and who didn't have the opportunity to read. They couldn't get to the formal structures to find books, so it was about bringing books to them. And it was also an opportunity for library service employees to establish new community partnerships as well, by working with different groups who were already with readers to join forces to read and to have books. It was an opportunity to scan the local environment, broker these partnerships, create and manage innovative micro projects. So micro project is a very small intervention, providing training, because librarians are usually trained and trained to give training. They can select and procure relevant books from bookade collections, but also procure local books, curriculum books, or any other books on the local market, to be manage a budget and to monitor and evaluate and report back on the progress of the intervention. The Community Reading Award is approximately $2,000, or in our money, £1,700, and it is an application process. So we have each year we have a number of awards. We've got 14 awards to give this year, and there is a judging panel who have a set criteria, and they will judge applications based on on lay down criteria. So I wanted to share the call with you all. It is for countries that are who we have links with, so it's not for everyone. We are a small organisation. We only work in as I said, 26 countries. Not everybody on this call will be eligible. But I think the most important thing that I want you to take away from today is that great things are possible with small amounts of money. It is about ideas, and it is about inspiration. So the unsuccessful projects that we see are complicated, overly complicated. They're poorly presented, so the proposal's not written very well. It's not logical or well thought through. It can be over the budget, over the award, so that would definitely be just disqualified. It's unrealistic in terms of time allocated. Applications are just not completed. They're not creative. They're not well researched. And that would be my contact if you would like to be interested, if you're interested, and I can send you all the details. And the deadline is the 18th of September. Next slide. The successful projects. So these must be linked to a partner library or book distributor in one of our countries. They're usually simple and effective. They're innovative, they're logical, they're easy to understand, and they're easy to see how the reader will be engaged through the activity. They're well researched. So people have done the background, they've gone to visit, they've talked to partners who they want to engage with, they're having discussions, and there is consultation. And they're wanted by the local community. They're affordable in the grant, they're manageable in the time frame, there is action towards sustainability, and the application form is fully completed, and all the rules which are set out are followed. So that's how you have a good chance of being a successful award winner. Next slide, please. I think that might be it. So thank you for listening, and that's my short presentation about the Community Reading Awards. If you want to find out more about what we do as an organisation, our website is there. But I liked the idea that Nkem suggested, that to invite people who had won previous years and to share where they are at now, and to find out what has happened since the award was given and the project implemented. And so it's with pleasure that I share with you one of the developments from Purity's award. And I'm going to, she's unable to speak for herself and provide a presentation, but I'd like to just share a little bit from an email update that she provided to me. She's Purity Kavuri. She was working at as a librarian at Nakuru branch library in Kenya, and now she's a partnerships manager, having moved to Nairobi. I'm just going to refer now to her update. So she says, since the award, there have been a number of changes. She was transferred from Nakuru to Nairobi, and around at the same time, the doctor in charge of the maternity hospital, together with several of the maternity staff who had been instrumental in implementing the project, were also transferred. So this was a project called Toto Smart Book Project, and it was geared to children who were in hospital for long periods of time, maybe with cancer or other illnesses, and they were missing school, and they were missing stimulation and things to do. And so that concept of having materials in a space where children could access them was born, and the Toto Smart Book Club project was the intervention that she came up with and that she was leading. So one of the things that had changed was that the people who she started the project off at, she was at Bondeni Maternity Hospital. They moved on, as people do. Everybody gets transferred, and as a result, the original program gradually lost momentum and is no longer as vibrant as it was. So it's there, it exists still, but it's no longer as vibrant. However, the Toto Smart concept never died; it evolved. The success and lessons from Toto Smart inspired us to develop an even broader national literacy initiative known as Soma Safari. Built on the same philosophy of taking books to where children are, Soma Safari aims to ensure that every child has access to books regardless of their circumstances. We have already introduced the program at the Kenyatta National Hospital, Pediatric Clinic number 23, where children receive books to read while awaiting treatment. Even more importantly, they are encouraged to take the books home and keep them, extending the joy of reading beyond the hospital visit. We have witnessed reading becoming a positive distraction from pain and anxiety, transforming waiting areas into spaces of hope, imagination, and learning. Our long-term vision is to establish a similar reading corner in every pediatric clinic across Kenya so that every sick child has the opportunity to discover the comfort and healing power of books. Soma Safari is being implemented through a wonderful partnership between the Kenya National Library Service, San Jose State University, Little Free Library, and Books for Africa. In many ways, Toto Smart planted the seed, and Soma Safari is the national movement that has grown from that inspiration. So that is, for me, was quite inspiring to see how change happened, but they didn't give up on the vision and just by using the seed fund, they were able to sow a concept and trial a concept. And because it was so successful, other people saw it and wanted to get behind it. And Books for Africa also send books here. We know them. And they have got behind it and are supporting it. And I just wanted to share that as a great example of something that happened in 2021 has grown into a movement and is something where lots of children are benefiting. So I think that this should be a really inspiring meeting, and I wanted to hand over to Michael, who is leading the ENMNT library in Gwanza in Harare, to share his micro project as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Good day, everyone. It's a pleasure to share on this webinar organized by AfLIA and Pocket International. Our micro project was termed Books Behind Bars. So this was our micro project, Books Behind Bars, and we have received 7 micro projects from Pocket International that we've implemented with Pocket International. This is one of our projects that we are very proud of because it was very unique in that one. It provided, we have people that are incarcerated. It provided them with an opportunity to get books during their incarceration and read. So this project, we did it in partnership with Pocket International and the Uganda prison. As we might all know that a prison is a highly secured area where there is strict security and protocols. So this project was very successful as a result of that it was implemented in partnership with Uganda prison, and they had a buy-in into the project. So the Community Reading Initiative reached out to more than 1,000 inmates. So Uganda prison has got 2 places where they keep the incarcerated people, ones that are about to be released into the society, and then those that are still waiting trial, and those that have undergone the trial. So at any given point, there are more than 1,000 inmates in Uganda prison, and there are more than 200 prison officers there. So the reason why we chose this as our reading initiative was that the prison officers would visit our library in Uganda to ask for old newspapers so that they can give them to the inmates. So then we saw that these people have got a challenge of reading material. That's why we had to opt for them as our reading initiative. So the challenge was that many inmates spend long periods in custody with limited access to educational and recreational activities. This leaves a gap in learning and rehabilitation and constructive use of time. So based on this, we saw that it was ideal for us to choose this place as our community reading initiative. So it responds directly to the gap, building a functional library inside a prison, owned and run by trained prison officers. So why we selected this community? NMT consulted the prison management directly to identify real information needs before we designed the project. So there were limited access to books and reading materials and no functional library at the Uganda prison. So this, we saw it as a gap. That is an institution, a government institution that has got a lot of people in it, but it doesn't have reading material. So we saw that it was a perfect fit for us to have a micro library in Uganda prison. There was also inmates studying for academic and professional qualifications. So this information, we got it from one of the prison officers who usually comes to the library to read. Then he gave us information that in Uganda prison, there are inmates that are studying for academic purposes. There are some that are studying for professional qualifications. And then we saw that there is also need for some who are not even studying for academic or professional qualifications, but who want to read for recreational activities. So that's why we chose this place. Then inmates spend long periods in custody with limited educational and recreational reading access. Then the prison officers always requested access to newspapers. So, and the prison officer who used to come to the library to read, to further his studies, is a qualified librarian. Is a qualified librarian, at the same time is a prison officer. So all this confirmed that the prison was an ideal location for a community reading initiative because every person deserves access to information and opportunities for learning regardless of their circumstances. So they are incarcerated for whatever reason, but for human dignity, to preserve human dignity, they should be given access to information and opportunities to learn. So that right should not be taken away from them. So we saw that this was going to be a very perfect opportunity for us to partner with prison to implement this community reading initiative. Then how we implemented the project. So at the initiation stage, we did a baseline survey. So the baseline survey established the number of inmates and those that are also going to school in the prison. Then the reading materials and library services. We established that there were no reading materials, there were no library services. Then the expectation of the prison authorities, they gave us what they will expect from us if we were to work with them. So the project responded to an identified need, not to an assumption, not to a project that ENMT thought was going to be good for the organization. But we saw that it responded to this need that we had already identified. So currently, we have also identified another need in another place. We're not the prison project, but so when we apply for a community reading initiative, already we'll have identified a need. Then the implementation, how we implemented the project. So at ENMT, we believe that we work in partnership with institutions for ownership of the project. So there was the training. We trained 5 prison officers so that they can man the micro library. We appointed the prison librarian as the project lead. The one who used to come to the library to read was appointed as the project lead at the prison. Then we equipped the local staff with skills to run the program independently. Like I mentioned, that this is a highly secured area which has got a lot of protocols. So the staff was equipped to run the program independently. Then we supplied fiction, non-fiction, academic, vocational, and locally published books. So these were books that we received from Booklet International, and we had to carefully select the books based on the identified needs that we got from the baseline survey. So the library became or is now a prison system. It's not an externally managed project. Even if you go there today, We were talking about it this week that we need to visit our micro library at the prison. It's still functional up to today because there was local ownership. It's not that at the end of the grant we then abandoned the project, but it's still functional up to date. Then who benefited? So, like I have mentioned, that there are more than 1,000 inmates there. There are more than 200 prison officers. So then what we got from when we were monitoring and evaluating our project is that the library now has a regular reading sessions. So when you go there, there is a book, a lending book that they use to lend out to the inmates and to other prison officers. Then they now have access to educational resources. They no longer come to us to bother us with old newspapers and so forth. They now have access to educational materials. So we even told them that if they need more books, they will come to us because this is now part of the library prison system. Then support formal studies. They are inmates who are studying. So this project is supporting their studies. Then the better use of inmates' time, because those that are incarcerated, they get the opportunity to learn. So as they stay in the prison, they use their time in a wise manner because now they are using it to study and further their studies because the materials are there at their doorstep. So what we got from one of the prison officers, Mambo, who is also a librarian there, this is what he had to say. The books have done wonders for our facility. We now have reading time with inmates. So this was a quote that was given to us by the librarian there, Mambo. So we have a consent for this. That's why I'm using the direct quote from her. Then reading became part of the prison life. Structured reading time is now a routine part of their daily schedules. So this is what they told us. So this is the impact of our project. Strength and rehabilitation. So like I mentioned that there are two places. So those that are about to be released into the society, they are taken to another prison, which is a satellite prison from the one which is in Uganda town, at Mapani area. So those that are about to be reintegrated into the society. So the books that we also gave to these people were project books, which they can start to do these projects as they get it to be reintegrated into the community. So strengthen rehabilitation, education and reading support for inmates growth and reintegration, sustainable sustainable staff-led library. So like we are saying, our librarians are not the ones who are leading at that library, who are lending the books, but it is being done by the prison officers. So there is sustainability in the project. Then there were some lessons that we learned from this project because, like I mentioned, that we have implemented 7 such micro projects in Material South in Uganda. So we saw that there is need for an organization to do needs assessment before implementing a project. Identify the need. Is there need? You should not use your gut feelings. Then partnership with the prison authorities is a high security area. So for it to be successfully implemented, there is need for you to partner with that place where you are going to have a reading initiative. Don't get there to say, I have brought this project to you, but it must be done in partnership. Then staff capacity building. So this is why the micro project has got some trainings in it. So it is very important to capacitate the staff that are going to run the project. Then books made to the community needs. You need to, when you are selecting the books for them, identify the target within that area. If there are people starting for academic qualifications, people starting from academic qualifications, those that are still at O level or A level. So you give them, select the books which suit their needs, not just to take any book and you send it to that community reading initiative, but select specific books which will be a perfect fit for that community reading initiative. Then the most important thing, after the expiry of the grant or period funding period, there is need for local ownership. All our 7 community reading initiatives, they are still up and running, up to date. And with some of them, we've integrated them into our own projects as an organization. So that aspect of local ownership is very important. Then, so books then demonstrate how access to books can transform correctional facility into space of learning and rehabilitation. So let's not ignore those of us, our members of our community who are incarcerated. They also have a right to get the books. So then maybe the other tip that I can give, if you want to successfully apply to these community reading initiatives, you have to go to the website of Book Aid International. Look where they send books to. Also read their strategy. It will give you pointers to what they like so that your project becomes a perfect fit into their strategy, into where they send the books to. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing that. It is very inspiring, and I've noticed Dr. Nkem has highlighted some things that are reoccurring. Capacity building is really important. Very, very important, especially when we're working with community members who have an interest and even a passion, but don't necessarily have the skills, and that's what they're needing. And librarians and library staff usually have those skills. And so collaborating with them is really important, listening to them, and creating that sense of that this is a project we're doing together, but you will lead when we are exiting. So local ownership. And yes, Michael, the last one about perfect fit. Yes, it makes sense. If you're applying to any funder, donor for anything, making sure you understand what kind of things they are interested in, what is their strategy, makes a lot of sense, and making sure that you are in line with that. It certainly helps when you're seeking their support. And on our side, we'll know that we are working in sync together. Thank you again, Michael. And I'd like to hand over to Rogers Jogi. Thank you, Rogers, for sharing your Marco, your mobile mountain bike library. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope my sharing is being seen by everyone. Great. All right. So, yeah, my name is called Rogers from Uganda at Music for Life Africa Foundation. But we have a library called Marco Koya Memorial Community Library, which is also a member at Community Library Associations of Uganda. So in 2021, that's when we got onto this award, and we are able to actually be part of the winners, the 14 winners in 2021. And I believe everyone here remembers the scenario after the COVID-19. So everyone was like, what next? And that's the time when the distance was still actually something that was advised. So when this award came in, we were like, oh, what can we do with this? Because by that time, there was need to reach out to different communities and different people. And our library was active, but the numbers had reduced down. And we had few people and children who were coming onto our library. So the idea was, we were asking ourselves what we could do with the children, and many children in the communities had limited access to books by then, and libraries and schools were a little bit, some of them were coming back, but still low. So we asked, why wait for the children to come to the library? And then we said, okay, let's take the library to the children. And this project, we were able to win the award, and we used the mountain bike. And the idea was like to take books to communities that we are working in. By then, we are working with a few villages. There are like 2 villages, but then we expanded by use of this this project. So it was a library on the 2 wheels. Local people were taking learning closer to where the children would actually, access the books. And how it was working and how it's working currently, the library is just on the wheels. So we carry books, the villages and the schools. We encourage reading and make books visible to these young people in the community and the schools. And most schools don't have libraries, and more especially, they don't have already established library within the school. If they are there, they are actually limited. So we create also reading clubs through this library that we move with. So we borrow books to children and the homes themselves, so that they can get closer to the beneficiaries. And then we create regular opportunities for reading and learning, and also we bring the learning closer to the communities. Now, our reach currently, our impact so far, we have 9 mountain bikes. Now you'll ask yourself, because by the time we received this project, we were able to procure 6 bikes, but now we have 9. You'll get to understand how it came in. And also we have reading champions. These literacy champions are trained young people with age 12 and above, who are facilitating or who are moving on these bikes to move into different communities. And to date, we have actually signed out books, over 1,550 books, to only the outreaches through these mobile libraries. And we reach out to 6 villages, and we were reaching out only to 2 villages by then. And then also we reach out to 7 schools through this. So we have 4 primary schools and 3 secondary schools where we use this approach to take the books closer to the beneficiaries. Who reaching out to children at different ages. 3 to 6 early years, introducing children to stories and the joy of the books. And then you have 7 to 11. These are reading years, building reading confidence, and also regular reading habits, as reading is not so much embraced within, but through these different age groups, we reach out them through different approaches. And then the 12 plus, these are independent learners, encouraging independent reading, learning, and personal development. These groups also, they are at the library also, because we have what we call reading clubs, which we are also categorized into this age group, who normally come on the weekends and during the holidays. So we all believe like every child deserves access to books, not only children, but also their parents too, because we've seen books that we've received from Book Aid that really embraced by actually the young, the young and the elders. So we look at the power of the book. When we talk about books, people think so much about only reading, but it's beyond just reading. Through this library, there's an initiative that came in between, through the moving of the books to the community. So there's one Braille book that sparked a big idea. Now, how is it connected? In the process of these librarians moving to the communities, they find this one visually impaired who couldn't read the text. But then we had books from somewhere that were Braille. So one of our most important experience that came through providing a Braille book to a learner with a visual impairment through the mobile library, that experience made us ask ourselves, what more can we do to make education a little bit inclusive? So the answer led us beyond reading because of this mountain bike. So the books came into to bring an idea of an inclusive vocational education. So that means one book became the spark for a new educational journey. And if you connect the dots, you realize that if we didn't have the mountain bike going to the community and identifying some other individuals who have impairments on their bodies to connect this wouldn't happen. So that's what we call the power of a book. So from reading to a vocational education, when one idea opens, another one also opens up the door. So the idea of the mobile library opened up another idea for the vocational education. So here we have the inclusion, education, and skills and opportunity for young people with different impairments at the organization. So that means the mountain bikes mobile library helped us to see that access to education is not only about reading, it's also about creating opportunities for people with disabilities and other underserved learners to develop practical skills and build their future. So the power of partnership came in space after this idea of the mobile bike. We have an organization called Read to Learn where we've partnered. The project has grown through collaboration and support from other organizations. Just like I said, that we had a few bikes, but through the partnership with Read to Learn, through their support, we received more 4 additional mountain bikes, helping us to expand the reach of the mobile library. So that means a local idea brought in the partnership. And then we are also increasing on the wider impact of what we are dreamed of. From one mobile library to many, an idea that is spreading. So one of the achievements we are most proud of is seeing the concept inspire others. Read to Learn Literacy on the Wheels project. There are more libraries and organizations in Uganda that have been encouraged to establish their own mobile library programs. They have provided over 50 bikes through their Literacy on the Wheels project to over 10 libraries in the country. So the idea is no longer just ours. It's becoming a model that others can adapt to reach their own communities and share their ideas. And also it's adaptive because anyone can now think about how he can reach out with a cheaper way of taking books to more people. No fuel, and it's enjoyable by also the youth who do it, So why has it been successful? What made the difference is just like Mike was saying, it's now community owned. So looking at the 30 local champions at the heart of the program, these are young people within the community who have been also empowered by Read to Learn to be able to handle the library as well as to handle the young children in reading. So they are empowered to do this. That's the power of partnership. You see how it's one idea leads to another. It's also simple and practical. A bicycle can take books where a traditional library cannot easily reach. We've seen this happening. And as I gave you a story of the inclusive vocation, it was this bike that was taken as an initiative that brought in the idea of the school. And then also real community need. So children need access to books, even people themselves, because you realize that going out there, even the elders really now are requesting for these books, where they were only thinking that only children can access the books. So they are feeling like we send children to the library, not them coming. They feel like now the library is closer to them. There's also partnerships, support from organizations such as Read to Learn. This has helped us also grow. So that means like the whole idea is it's one thing that brings the other. And we really emphasize that we couldn't do all this by ourselves. If you see the amount of money that's being invested in from different organizations that work with us, maybe we wouldn't have the budget to do it. But there is that partnership, which is a very key thing in whatever we are doing. Maybe like the book aid sparked up the idea and it's spreading like fire, and then also replicating. So if you look at the 50 bikes and the other community libraries that have been worked with that have also started this, that means like anyone can replicate the idea. It's not only for us. The world is so big, like we need to work together to really, put resources together to expand the ideas each of us have, So what we have learned, that small ideas can create big change. That's what we've all realized, It's just a matter of starting. We started with the bikes and the books and the volunteers, but the journey has given us much more. Over extra books. When I'm talking about 1,550, these are books that are going out, signed out, every time they sign out a book. But remember also within the library, so many readings going on, So that's an addition. And then the 30 champions that were mobilized, these are young people, very energized, now love reading, and they want to pass on to others. Also, the 6 villages we reach out, the 7 schools we reach out. This whole is after having this small idea. So we believe also, we understand what we've learned, that inclusion is a very key thing in what we are doing. So as I'm wrapping up, I would like to invite each library to think about what are the inclusive ideas you have, so that we don't leave anyone behind. Sometimes the biggest impact begins with a very simple idea, and then it inspires the rest. So our vision, where do we want to go from here? We want to reach more villages, and not us. When I talk about villages and schools, not us, I'm meaning all other libraries that can pick up the idea to reach out for more schools. If I reach out to 10, you reach out to 6, the other will reach out to 7, that means like we are really spreading up so much. And then increase the number of books available, support more reading champions, because these young people, when they are inspired, they are the next people to really take reading to the next level, and also expand the inclusive reading materials in different perspectives. It might be technology, it might be just, hard copies, or even sign language. All these are very important. We want to strengthen the partnerships, support the growth of mobile libraries, connecting reading with wider educational opportunities. So I believe that every child should have the opportunity to discover the world through their books, but only not reading, but also bringing the whole, concept into the landscape of reading. So from one idea to a growing movement, that's what we want to see. We don't want to do it alone. We need partners on board. Right. So we feel like one book, just like always we say, it can change a life. And one idea can inspire a community. One community can inspire many more. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing, Rogers. Very inspiring. And the comments in the chat are really speaking to the pluses around that model. And it's great to see things grow. And sometimes it takes time. And sometimes the original project kind of slows down, and then it can just spring back up to life. And I believe that really good projects, they stay alive. People fight to keep them alive. So thank you very much, colleagues. And I'm happy to hand over to Stanley or Dr. Nkem or Doreen. Thank you.
All right. I know that there are 2 questions in the Q&A, but I believe that they are coming from the same country, Nigeria, and they're asking how they can be a part of this. Two questions from Nigeria. So if you can explain to us why Nigeria is not yet a part of this, or how Nigeria can be a part of this, that will help. That's the question in the Q&A. Then I also, I don't know if you want to address a little bit about the questions I had sent to you. It's your choice. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So there are, at the moment, we don't have capacity to offer projects in every country at the moment, and we do hope that will change. We started going back to Nigeria, I think 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, and we're still finding our feet there. Logistical challenges exist, and we're doing everything we can do this end to make sure shipments are going to both Lagos and Abuja through partners there, but it's still early days, and so any project work isn't happening in Nigeria at this point in time. We are hoping that situation changes, but at the moment it's largely logistics that is slowing us down. But it is something that we want to open up to many more countries. So at the moment, the Community Reading Awards are only open to countries where we are working, but also where we are doing projects. So they would be screened out because we're not doing projects in Nigeria at the present time.
All right. Okay, so maybe if you can list the the countries where you are doing your projects now so that
Yes.
people can, yeah.
I put it in the chat.
Okay.
I put the list of countries. So I've said the community reading awards are currently only open to colleagues in the countries below: Bhutan, Ethiopia, Ghana, Lebanon, Cameroon, Kenya, Liberia, Malawi, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Zanzibar, the Gambia, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And there's contact details. So I put my colleague's contact details there. She will be receiving them on my behalf, and the deadline of 18th of September for information.
All right.
There was a
And
question. Sorry.
maybe if there's a link.
Yeah,
If there's a link,
Stanley,
for
please now
instance,
go on. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a link that you could put in the chat, then they can get all of that information. Because I think the other question that came up had to do with the application process. When you were talking about in your presentation, you mentioned that there is an application process. So is there an application form? Then where do you go to get the application form?
So,
all of those kinds of information, at least for the countries that are eligible and that are here that wants to make or try the process. Thank you.
Thank you. So at the moment, we don't have a link. But if you get in touch with Judith, she will send you all the guidelines, including the criteria and helpful information, and the application form. On the application form, there is a space for timeline, the actual idea, lots of different questions for you to complete, including how you would spend the award up into £1,700. So she will send you out the application if you request it from her, and she knows that she may get some people who are interested, so she will return quickly. But at the moment, we don't have a link.
All right, that's fine. So there are general comments here. Maybe I can read a couple of them. And then you can keep your questions coming. I think we can maybe spare some 5 more minutes before we allow our speakers to do their last comments. I really appreciated the presentations, and I believe the community engagement is one of the key aspects of our university. Kindly, I would request that you share we're going to share the presentation. I also mentioned that we're recording the session, and so it will be available on AfLIA's YouTube channel, so that you can have it. So somebody says, although Uganda may not currently be eligible, I believe that one day we shall be, and we should be well prepared when the opportunity comes. I'm not too sure about that, because I think Rogers is from Uganda, isn't it?
Uganda is listed.
Yes, so kindly take note of that. Actually, Rogers is from Uganda. He's implementing a wonderful project with the mobile bikes, and so please, Uganda is qualified and eligible. All right. Any other? So there was a comment earlier from Aletta, and I think it will be wonderful to also mention. I don't know if it's been read out already. Good morning, everybody. Namibia has a good, successful story about interlibrary loan between public libraries and the prisons in Windhoek. A few inmates graduated in law as professional lawyers through this initiative. And there was an issue in prison about the time for studying by the inmates that was reduced significantly. And one of the graduates won the court case on behalf of the inmates. That's interesting. That's so interesting to know. Sounds like poetic justice. All right, thank you for that contribution, Aletta Dan. Any other questions? Let me check the Q&A tab, but for want of time, I would like for our presenters briefly, a minute each, what you would have as your last words. I'll start with Rogers, and then I would come to Michael and end off with Samantha.
All right, thank you so much, Stanley. I think for me, what I've realized in this journey is that in most cases we look at big grants and we feel like they are the one that can make an impact. And then also we sometimes fear to share our ideas with the rest. To everyone, like when you have an idea, it's an idea that you're looking at it for your community, but imagine that this idea is all over the world, you know. So be free to share it out so that you can every impact someone does through your idea, you have to count that as your achievement. I mean, like if there are over 50 bikes in Uganda, we feel like, okay, wow, this is great. Like, you know, there is more numbers coming in different libraries, because many people are really not looking at libraries like they can come to their homes, but now they are getting there. So I would just encourage everyone, like when you have an idea, try to share it, and also embrace what we call partnerships. There are so many people who would like to come on board to be a part of the projects that we do, but maybe we don't tell them how they get in. So everyone might know where they can get in that way. Parents have been partners in this because they are giving their children to come and be empowered, and they do this, you know, at even, I would say, like a free cost, because they love what they are doing, even when we give them a little bit. So everyone is a partner in the project that you start up. Thank you so much, Stan.
Right. Right. Thank you, Rogers. Keep doing what you're doing for God and country. Michael, can we hear from you?
Thank you, Stanley. Yeah, I just have one thing to say as a concluding remarks. Projects should respond to an identified need, not to what we, the people, not what we, the implementers like, but respond to an identified need. Then the emphasis is on local ownership for sustainability. Projects should not end because the grant funding cycle has ended, but they should continue beyond the grant funding cycle for as a local ownership project, not for us as development practitioners and librarians to go around establishing white elephants in communities and in institutions. We should embrace local ownership and partnerships.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Establish the need. You can't run around that. Yeah, Samantha, maybe your last words.
All the last words, the exciting ones, have been taken already. I would just encourage all of the members of the audience to be bold and be creative in their positions. Librarians are skilled and have access, or can have access to, communities much more, and should be creative in how they address needs. Something can be new and seem very unusual until it's done. And then everybody thinks this is the greatest thing. Why didn't we think about it earlier? So be bold and be creative, and trust yourself, and see what happens.
Thank you very much, everybody, for making the time. Thank you, Samantha, and your team for making this happen. Keep on doing what you're doing. Colleagues,